Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. The streak is snapped. The Calgary Flames came out on top against the Colorado Avalanche, and the new guys showed up and showed out. My takeaways from last night's game today on Locked On Flames.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Locked On Flames. I'm your host, Jess Belmosto, and today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you so much for joining me in your first episode or another episode of Locked On Flames. Today, we are going to talk about the season opener and how exciting is it that they finally snapped their 12-year running losing streak. And today, let's make sure that you are subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. Let's jump right into this game recap. Like I said, the season opener streak is snapped. No more, it's, 12 years, 13 years. Listen, I was thinking they were going to go 13 because lucky 13, but also like the cards aligning for Johnny Gaudreau, right? For their old friend. Daryl Sutter earned his 700th career win as well. It was a good night. It was a great night for milestones. Mackenzie Weegar had his first 2 points as a Calgary Flame. Same with Nazem Kadri and Jonathan Huberdeau. And I just have to say, Nazem Kadri looked fantastic last night. He was all over the ice playing that two-way game that we know and love and why he was brought to Calgary. And he forced 2 power plays, or he drew two power plays, I guess. And there were 2 goals on those power plays. So thank you so much, Kadri, for your assistance there. And of course, did anyone have Brett Ritchie scoring the first goal of the Flames season on their bingo card? I did. I knew it was going to happen because, 3 years ago now, he scored the season opener for the Bruins, and I was like, listen, this is just so Brett Ritchie of him. He's going to do it here. And he did. And of course, Dillon Dube, Rasmus Andersson, and Tyler Toffoli, as well as Elias Lindholm, all earned their firsts of this season, which is very exciting. I am so excited to watch Dillon Dube this season. I think that he is trending in the right direction. I think that, we talk about Andrew Mangiapane a lot, but I see Dube as a mini Mangiapane in terms of where he is and, the steps that he'll follow. I really think that Dube is going to have a fantastic campaign. And Rasmus Andersson, I just have to say, welcome back. Last year he had that fantastic 129-foot goal from behind the blue line against the Oilers, and he did it again. Well, not from behind the blue line, but he opened up the season for himself with a gorgeous goal, and he had a nice little celly too. I enjoyed it, and I don't think that we can we can't get enough of Rasmus Andersson. And I have a theory. Okay, it's not really a theory. I think that Andersson and Dube had fantastic seasons when Blasty first came back, and I think that this year, Blasty is reviving them, if you will, right? That's how it works, right? But Tyler Toffoli also scored. It was a gorgeous goal there. But Toffoli's goal, they wore that poor Colorado goaltender out. They wore that man out, and I felt bad for him. I was like, oh, I know this is the second half of a back-to-back, but you didn't even play last night, and you look like you played last night. And of course, our good friend Elias Lindholm had the game-winning goal from Huberdeau, and just looked, this is something we will never get tired of. I can tell you that right now. And Jacob Markstrom had 22 saves. One thing about the Flames is that they were certainly making Avs goaltender Francouz work. They were making him work. And, Markey wasn't really forced to work that much until later in the game when it felt like the Flames were getting a little bit too comfortable and allowed, I believe it was 2 more goals in the second and third period. They're making it 5-3. So, you just have to tighten that up a little bit. And, whether you have a 4-goal lead, a 2-goal lead, or a 1-goal lead, you cannot get comfortable. You have to be as comfortable or uncomfortable, I guess, with it being 1-1, the same way you are when the game is 5-1. You can't let your defense slip up. You can't, catch your goaltender, slipping. You have to still do your job. You're there for a reason. And, I do think that Markstrom looked great last night. Like, again, after coming back from an illness on Wednesday, he bounced right back. There was no need to worry there. He was just looking fantastic and in true Markstrom form. But the Flames won 38% of the faceoffs. It was 51 to 49% there. And I just have to say, I understand that, like, this is kind of like not meaningless, but it's one of those stats that, like, no one is truly overanalyzing for a team when it comes down to, like, the micro level of a player. Yes, of course. But I feel like this is what happens when you have strong centers. You're going to have players who, are capable of bending down and standing back up quickly. You're going to have players who have strong hand-eye coordination, and you're going to have players that are capable of winning faceoffs. But, I was thoroughly impressed with the Flames last night. Like I said, this was a great way to start the season. So there was a sense of urgency on every single shift. You loved to see it, and I want to see more of it. I don't care. I want to see another 81 games like this. It doesn't have to be 5-3, but I want to see more of that urgency. And I think that we're going to see that, especially with our next opponent, as the Flames head up north to take on the Edmonton Oilers. And we're going to talk about that next. But first, let's talk about our friends at BetOnline. As always, please remember to bet responsibly when you are gambling. There are resources available for you if you feel like things are getting out of hand. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all of your football betting info this season. Find all of the latest player developments, team matchups, news, podcasts, and in-depth analysis on every game you can find. And find out if Dak Prescott is coming back this week. I don't think he is, but that's okay. We ride with Cooper, right? And as always, BetOnline remains your continued source for all of your sports wagering info with live betting and up-to-minute scores for every sports there. We have MLB playoffs happening right now. Go run, place your bets to see who will win Game 2 today. Will it be the Cleveland Guardians or the New York Yankees? How will Nasty Nestor look on that mound tonight? And head on over to betonline.net or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On Flames. As always, I'm Jess Belmosto, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jess Belmosto. I just flashed it on the screen if you are watching on YouTube. I think one thing for me is this team, I don't want to say they had a chip on their shoulder, because I feel like that is very underdog of them, and this team was not an underdog last year. They went out and proved themselves and did it with no problem. But the way to start the season to set the tone was exactly what they did last night. And you have to do that, whether it's game 1, game 36, game 49, game 69, game 82. You have to come in heavy with the punch regardless of where you are in the seasons. And I think it is so exciting. Like, you have that adrenaline going, especially in front of your home crowd. It's the first time Kadri, Weegar, and Huberdeau are all getting announced at the Saddle Dome. And of course, last night was a sellout at the Dome, and I think that is the largest crowd that home crowd, I should say, that Weegar and Huberdeau have played in front of. No shade at all. But they made a statement last night. There's none of this, oh, woe is me, I have to go play the reigning Stanley Cup champions. First of all, they were on the second half of a back-to-back. They didn't land until 3:45 in the morning. They were a sleepy team, but they still put up 3 goals. So, truly, there's no excuse there. But there was this sense of urgency that I saw, and this intensity that I saw, that was a whole new level. This team looked faster, and that's great, especially when you're going up north to play one of the fastest, if not the fastest, teams in the league, and it sets the tone for the season. And I think that is, a strong statement to make. You're defeating the Cup champions. You go out and score 5 goals without 2 of your big guys from last year. And instead, it's your 3 new guys coming in to help set up these goals. And I truly do hope that, I hope that they all score before the Flames go back to the Dome. But I want to see them score their first goals as a member of the Calgary Flames at home, because I think it'll be electric, and I do think it'll be fun. It's always more special when you score it in front of your home goal, right? Or home crowd, rather. But it was so nice to see them be able to put up 5 goals against, again, one of the best defensive cores in the league. Cale Makar actually drew a penalty against Tyler Toffoli, went on the goal that he scored. And I love Cale Makar. I'm pretty sure I have him on one of my fantasy teams, but I wanted to see Tyler Toffoli bleed so he could get a major. I just, petty stuff aside, I do really think that the Flames went out there last night and did what they needed to do, obviously, to get those 2 points. I keep coming back to it, but they did set the tone for the season. They set the expectation. 5 goals in your season opener against the reigning Cup champions is great. It's not like you're playing Arizona, Chicago, I would say the Sharks, but the Sharks somehow always have a good goalie in net when we play them. They have a Vezina trophy candidate, basically, whenever we play them. But one thing that stuck out for me was Rasmus Andersson. You need to have, some players of your defense have that 2-way game. Rasmus Andersson is going to have an excellent season. I have no doubt that, of course, his seasons under Chris Tanev have been wonderful for him. He's been a great mentor. But I think that he has become more comfortable in his own. And I think he did struggle 2 seasons ago. He did. Last year, he didn't get his first goal until January, the middle of January. So for him to get it now, gets the monkey off his back, he can go out there, play his game, shoot the puck, and not be like, oh man, here we go, another game where I don't get it. But he brings something. He's emerging into a stronger defenseman, both defensively and offensively. And adding Weegar to that mix does wonders, because Weegar has always had an offensive presence. And we saw that last night. I mean, he had 2 assists. And I really do believe that this is going to be Andersson's season. I think that he is going to, really emerge as one of the top defensemen in the league. At least in like the top 10, top 15. Okay. I understand like there are some heavy hitters in the league right now. But offensively, I think we're going to see a lot from him. And I think that Weegar is going to take him under his wing a little bit and say, hey, this is what I notice you're doing, which is nice. Like a little mentor sort of situation. But again, just another great way to start the season and to set the tone and not have to worry about much of anything. It's still a long season ahead of you, but I like what I saw from the forwards. Again, that sense of urgency. There's a level of competitiveness. I think back to my first year covering this team. It was right before the pause, and this team, like a beer league would have danced circles around them. There was no urgency. There was nothing. Like there was truly nothing for the Flames and like going for them. It was just, it's a mess, and it's a complete 180 from where they were. And I want you to actually go, if you're new here, I want you to go and watch like highlights from the 2019-2020 season, because you'll see what I mean in terms of the laziness, the lack of drive. And then if you remember what you watched last night or even last season, you'll be like, well, how is this the same team? Well, I mean, it's really not the same team anymore. There's like 2 players that are still on the team, but it's okay, right? It's just a really great turnaround. And this is what Daryl Sutter does to players. Any team would love to have Daryl Sutter. It reminds me so much of Bad News Bears in terms of like taking these mediocre players, not this group, but the group that Daryl Sutter first coached, these mediocre players or players that just needed that extra push, and getting them to where they needed to be in order to be competitive. And we have that now. We do indeed. And speaking of competitiveness and urgency, we have to have a lot of that ahead of tomorrow, or in tomorrow night's first season matchup of the Battle of Alberta, coming up next. Tomorrow night, the Calgary Flames meet up with the team that eliminated them from their Stanley Cup run. They'll travel north to central Alberta for the first time this season. And who doesn't love a good rivalry? I love talking with Brett from Locked On Oilers, because he's very rational about his team and the team he's grown up watching his whole life, and as a fan, but as an analyst as well. I think that he's very smart when it comes to his game. And if you get a chance, I'm sure he's going to have a game preview up today, so go give that a listen. I am a little worried, slightly, because the Flames' first line doesn't exactly compare, to Edmonton's first line. I think that there are very few teams in this league that, hold a flame to Edmonton's first line. And unfortunately, Calgary is just not one of them. But I'm expecting a very competitive game. I'm expecting McDavid to just do McDavid things. But let's rewind a little bit to talk about the Oilers season opener. They opened their season against Vancouver, and Jack Campbell had his Mike Smith moment. He did have a few moments where everyone was like, are we sure that's not Mike Smith dressed up as Jack Campbell? But it was a very physical game too. McDavid like pummeled over like Quinn Hughes. Darnell Nurse ended up getting fined as well for I believe it was unsportsmanlike conduct or something like that. So I would expect a physical game, to say the least, from these two teams. I hope some of you are traveling north to make a sign to remind Mackenzie Weegar that he makes less than Darnell Nurse, but he's a better player. I hope that someone just, makes a sign that says like Weegar with the greater than sign and then Nurse or something. But the Flames are probably going to go out there, they're going to be like, oh, these are the guys that eliminated us. These are the guys that quote unquote broke us. Let's go get them. And I hope that they do. I hope that the Flames forwards that typically play that two-way game, I hope that they are ready to shut down some of the fastest skaters in the league. But like I said, the Oilers' top line is light speed ahead of the Flames. And like that's not to like the Flames' fault. Like that's not Connor McDavid is so fast in himself. Like you can't. And then, Evander Kane. That's he is a goal scorer. One of the top. I'm pretty sure he led the playoffs last year in goals scored. So that's that. And then of course you have the 1-2 punch with McDavid and Draisaitl. So we'll see how that goes. But let's not forget Elias Lindholm and Nazem Kadri. Okay, the Flames are gonna have to get a little creative here. I don't doubt the Flames by any means. I think that they are fantastic. I think that it's gonna be another game. I think it's gonna be a close game. I'm looking forward to seeing Markstrom versus Campbell. I want to see how the Oilers defense holds up against this new Flames offense. I'm interested. I don't think that the Oilers had a strong start to the season in terms of their defense. I thought that they still struggled a little bit. They let up 3 goals. But that's hockey. I mean, the Flames defense did the same thing last night. So, we're just going to have to see how it goes. And I'm hoping to have a game preview episode crossover with Brett from Locked On Oilers up tomorrow before the game. It is an 8 p.m. Mountain Time start hockey night in Canada. It will be another late night for me. But as always, I am happy to provide you with the only daily Calgary Flames coverage here at Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Remember to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Tune in to Locked On Flames on Monday. We're going to talk all about the weekend. And of course, you can follow me on Twitter and the show at LO_FlamesPod. Until then, have a great weekend and go Flames!